namespace. So different concepts of C++, we will go ahead in detail. So normally we are going to see many concepts in C++ like constructor, destructor, class, object, inheritance, and so on, right? Now the first question comes is what actually a C++ programming is. C++ programming language is basically object-oriented programming language. So when I talk about object-oriented programming, that means the language which has all the features of object-oriented concepts. That's the reason we say it is an object-oriented language. Now, what is object? What is class? You will understand by end of tomorrow's lecture properly. And why do we declare that class? Why do we have that object? Everything you will understand with proper details by end of tomorrow's session, maybe first part of the session. So first question comes ki why we are using C++, because as far as your object-oriented concepts are concerned, it is not necessary you can go for C++ for implementing those concepts. You can go for C++, you can go for Java, you can go for maybe different Python language, and so on and so forth. But why we are going towards C++? Because you are already familiar with the C environment. So that's the reason we are going ahead with the C++ with object-oriented concepts. So actually, if you talk about C++, in that case, the IDE that we are going to use is VS Code only. There is no need to install anything extra for your C++ programming. Another thing is, if you remember in VS Code application, when we have installed, let us say, extensions, the extensions were C and C++. So that means you guys are already ready with the, you can say something called as the environment that we require for C++ programming. So no need to install anything extra for C++ programming. Now the question comes over here is why we are switching or why we want to go for C++. The first thing that comes in our mind is, for example, if you remember, I have told that today's lecture initial will be little bit theoretical and later on it will be little, you can say programs. So as far as your CCAT exam is concerned, जैसे C में कुछ questions आते हैं, predict the output for the same. In case of C++, you may receive the questions which are in a direct format. So there may be the little bit theory type of questions, maybe conceptual type of questions, and maybe little bit prediction on the output. But comparatively in C, you will get maximum type of program related questions like predicting the output. In case of C++, you can at least expect few questions based on the concepts. So as and when I will explain different concepts, so I will be guiding you through these questions. So you can take a pen and paper in front of you so that if any MCQ that I discuss during the class, you can just make a note of it. It will be very easy for you when you revise the sessions, right? So why we are going ahead with the C++ program, it is basically, when you talk about a C program, do you remember we have said it is a standalone application, right? It is a one-man language. Why it is called as one-man language? It is because suppose I am writing one C program, okay? I'm writing or I'm developing one project, right? In that project, let us say this is my project. In that project, I have declared something called as, maybe I'm writing one structure and I am saying I have something called as integer ID and maybe I have integer salary, right? And this structure is nothing but of type struct emp, assume. And as a first developer, as a developer, what I am saying, whenever any function, let us say I have two more functions, maybe I'm saying withdraw, or maybe I'm saying display information, maybe I'm saying another function, and so on. So let us say I'm saying this is my function 1, f1, and let us say this is my function f2. So what I require that this function should have the accessibility to this salary, but I also require that this function should not have the facility towards the salary. Means what? In case of C programming language, there was nothing such as privacy, right? Function 1, अगर उसने EMP का वेरिएबल बनाया है तो function 1 was able to access this salary. Function 2, अगर उसने EMP का एक वेरिएबल बनाया है, in that case it would be able to access the salary part, right? So suppose now I wish to give this complete functionality to my second team member, the one who is working on the same project with me. So let us say I am the team member 1, right? This is my team and I'm the first team member 1. And maybe I am saying this is my team member 2. And this team member is also working onto the same project. So whenever I will pass or whenever I will give my source code from team member 1 to team member 2, I will say, please do not access salary from function 2, right? So maybe I will try to communicate with my team member 2 in a case of maybe through email, maybe through phone, maybe through text, maybe through some comments and so on and so forth. But suppose the same project which I am working, the same project is also have been worked by a team member 3. So there are another third, there is one more person who is working onto this. And suppose this particular team 2 member have also implemented one function, maybe F3. And he is also putting some kind of restriction onto this F3. Now, when this team member 2 will give the project to team member 3, obviously team member have to tell to the team member 3, please do not access salary from the function 2. This is not allowed. Maybe along with it, it may give some more instruction, right? Okay, please do not access this particular variable in F3 and so on and so forth. Again, if I have a team member 4, do my team member 4 have to add on the instructions? Yes. Do we have that much time? Even though we are writing comments, no one is having the time for comment reading. No one is going to read your messages. And there may be the chance that suppose by mistake, team member 2 have not intimated this to team member 3. Are you understanding the scenario, everyone? So जो मैंने डेवलप किया वो तो आगे चल के किसी न किसी के थ्रू मॉडिफाई हो सकता है, because the instruction we cannot ultimately we are human beings, we may forget to give some instruction at some point of time and which may affect my project at the later stage, right? That's the reason हम C programming तब use करते हैं when it is a standalone application, or you can say one man language. Means एक ही developer है जिसको पूरे project में क्या requirement है completely project वो ही develop करेगा based on the requirement. But are we going to work in an organization and are we going to work alone in an organization? Obviously no. We have to work with the human beings, that means other team members, right? And if I'm saying I want to work with other team members, in that case I will write my program in such a way that by looking at the program, my other team member will automatically understand, oh, this is what is the restriction, put it onto this field. This is what is the restriction which is put it onto this function. This is what is the restriction which is put it onto the different class, and so on and so forth. So through the program, I will try to communicate maybe with team member 2, maybe with team member 3, maybe team member 4. So that particular person will obviously understand that this is how the program is written. This is how I have to follow ahead. For example, अगर मैं इसी प्रोग्राम में C++ का प्रोग्राम में चेंज करती हूँ, assume I can write this salary component is as private. So private कीवर्ड मेरे पास C में नहीं था, यहाँ पे C++ में प्राइवेट है. अगर मैं किसी डेटा मेंबर को प्राइवेट डिक्लेयर करती हूं, in that case that member will not be accessible by some functions. So when this particular person will transmit my code to my other team member, obviously team member 2 देखेगा कि this is declared as private, means I cannot access it in any function. So is my क्या मेरे टीम मेंबर 1 को मैन्युअली टीम मेंबर 2 को बताना पड़ा? क्या नहीं बताना पड़ा. Have you understood the scenario now? When team member 3 will observe this code, at this moment it will observe. It's a private declaration. I will not be able to use it over here in any of the function because it is a private member. That means through the program, we are communicating with our team members, and that is more feasible and more understandable, right? So in that case, for implementing, this is just one example, right? Keeping it private. For implementing these kind of scenarios, we need to write a program by following OOP, that is object-oriented programming concepts. That is why whenever I'm saying I want to work in teams and I want to write a code in such a way that it should be understood by the others too properly, then I will follow some rules, some concepts, and those concepts are called as object-oriented concepts. There are some major concepts, there are minor concepts today we will see, like we have inheritance, we have modularity, we have abstraction, we have polymorphism, फंक्शन ओवरलोडिंग, फंक्शन ओवरराइडिंग. तो ये जो सारे कॉन्सेप्ट्स जब हम प्रोग्राम में इंप्लीमेंट करते हैं तो उनको हम बोलते हैं ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड कॉन्सेप्ट्स. एंड द लैंग्वेज via which we can implement object oriented concepts are many languages which are available, out of which we are going for C++. अब समझ में आया the need of C++ programming? Everyone? Right, because when you are learning any language, you should understand the need behind it. Okay, what exactly the need is, right? So assuming you all have understood the need of C++ language, in that case, let us continue with the first topic, what is called as few applications that you talk about C++ and some major and minor pillars of C and C++ today. So today's topic will be little bit theoretical for at least 45 minutes, and then we can go ahead to the programs, right? So there are few real-time applications of C++. Maybe you can talk about games, maybe you talk about GUI-based applications like Adobe, like MySQL Server, Apple OS, Mozilla, Google File Systems, Chrome browser, banking applications, compilers, smartwatches, MP3 players, embedded systems, so on and so forth. So it is not necessary that you should learn all upcoming new languages. Even if you go for C++, you can implement these types of different applications in your program. So these are the few real-time applications of C++. As we know that whenever we are learning some language, then we should understand the theory for C++. So OOPS is not a syntax, it's a concept. OOPS stands for Object-Oriented Programming Concepts. It's the programming methodology which is used to solve the real world problems. So why we say it is OOPS? Because it has some features. Collectively, those features are called as object-oriented features. What is object? What is class? आपको धीरे-धीरे समझ में आएगा. C++ में there are some topics which are interlinked and their reference is there in future. So in some of the points, I may just give you an introduction and later on I will guide you somewhere, maybe at that correct point, I would say, right? I'll just mute all because there are some students who are unmuting. Okay, I'll mute all and I can see there is one person who is called as Hardik, right? Hardik, are you there? Hardik, are you there? Hardik, I am your profile. Okay, Hardik? Good, you're there. So please rename your profile name. It should be proper convention OC4 underscore your name and the roll number. All right, good. So let us start with history of C++. The inventor of C++ is John Stroudstup. It is not B. John, it is John Stroudstup. C++ is derived from C and Simula. These two are the language. Initial name which was given to C was C with classes. And then it was AT&T have developed in 1979, and it was developed under Unix operating system, and ANSI, that is American National Standard Institute, have renamed C with classes to C++. So initially, yes, thank you, Hardik. So initially, it was named as C with classes, and later on, it is renamed as C++. C++ is an object-oriented programming language. हम क्यों तो आपको समझ में आएगा कि हाउ ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज organize complex programs into simple programs in terms of classes and objects. Next, in terms of abstraction, encapsulation, polymorphism, inheritance. And the languages that support abstraction, encapsulation, polymorphism, and inheritance are called as OP language. अब ये features क्या है? We will see today only, right? So any programming language which supports these features may be class, object, abstraction, encapsulation, polymorphism, inheritance, modularity. All these are the concepts. If I am able to develop these concepts using some language, then that is called as object-oriented programming language, right? Now let us understand these features first, right? Today, I will give you the theory part, what is abstraction, what is encapsulation. Gradually in next upcoming days, हम ये features को कैसे implement करते हैं, वो बताऊंगी. So let us start with abstraction. Now, what is abstract? If I ask you basic definition of abstract, what is abstract? Anyone? What is abstract? Anything? Any answer is to fetch any data? No. Hiding the data? Okay. Hiding internal details? Okay. You want to hide something, right? A short explanation is abstract. Okay. Okay. Hiding the data. All right. Now, process hiding, simplicity. All right. So, wrapping of data? No, it is not abstraction, Kedar. Simplicity is not the abstraction. Okay. I'll take a best example for this so that you will be able to link it with it. Suppose I'm saying I have, you can say a printf statement. You all have used printf, is it? Everyone have used printf statements, maybe at least 10 times, right? So if I talk about printf statement, then printf statement just goes to check its definition into stdio.h. And somewhere in stdio.h, I have been written, or it's been written somewhere, integer is a return type, फिर printf ऐसा function definition रहेगा. Yes. Now, what you know about printf as far as our concern is, what I know about printf, if I know the what part, what I know about printf, it is used to display data on output screen. Okay, that is called as what part. Okay, now if I say what I am aware about printf, I'm just aware about the printf to print the data on the output screen. That's it. But do I know how it prints? I am unaware about the how part. The reason is you are not aware how your keyboard communicates with your mouse monitor, how your monitor is displaying the data, how my keyboard energy is converted, maybe in the electrical form or maybe in the form of signals, maybe in the binary. I'm unaware about it. So if I only know the outer behavior of anything, that is abstraction. If I am not aware about the internal details about anything, then that is called as abstraction. So what is abstraction? It describes outer behavior of my object. What is object? आपको धीरे से बाद में थोड़ा पता चलेगा. But at least over here, if I'm aware about outer behavior, it is called as abstraction. Okay. Now, when I talk about printf, are you giving the function call? Yes, I am giving the function call. So can I say function जब मैं call करती हूँ, at that time I am unaware about internal software जब तक मैं उस definition में नहीं जाती, right? That is called as abstraction. So hiding the data from the user, then that is called as abstraction. Abstraction specifies outer behavior of the object. It is used basically when you give a function call, that is called as abstraction. समझ में आया what is abstraction? Anyone, everyone? All right. Now, let us talk about encapsulation now. Now, when I say I am giving a function call, right? In that case, does it go to stdio.h? Does it go to its definition part? Yes. In case of encapsulation, can I say इस printf function के अंदर मेरे पास कुछ variables भी रहेंगे, कुछ declarations रहेंगे, कुछ functions रहेंगे, and so on and so forth. Variables को मैं बोलती हूँ data and functions को मैं बोलती हूँ methods in case of C++. So when you talk about variables and functions, can I say they are encoded or they are basically bound in one single scope? एक ही फंक्शन स्कोप के अंदर मेरे पास वेरिएबल हो सकते हैं, फंक्शन कॉल हो सकते हैं, अदर स्टेटमेंट्स हो सकते हैं, एंड सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ. When you bind data and together in one single scope, that is called as encapsulation. So can I say a function definition? That is nothing but how part I am aware about it. This is basically showing me the internal behavior of my object. मेरा फंक्शन इंटरनली क्या परफॉर्म कर रहा है, that functionality is defined within the function definition and that is called as encapsulation. समझ में आया? Everyone, did you all get it? That is encapsulation. The two type of questions that can be asked over here is, first, which OOP features describes outer behavior of the object? Answer is abstraction. Which OOP behavior describes the inner behavior object? Answer is encapsulation. So getting only essential things and hiding unnecessary detail is called as abstraction. Abstraction always describes outer behavior of the object. Encapsulation is binding of data and code together is called as encapsulation. The implementation of abstraction is called as encapsulation. Can I say यहाँ पे सिर्फ मैंने call किया है and it is having its implementation in encapsulation? Yes. So I can also conclude implementation of my abstraction is nothing but encapsulation. So these types of MCQs can be asked in your OOP. which describes outer behavior, who describes inner behavior, how implementation of abstraction is done. It is with the help of encapsulation. Second type of question. The function call is the example of. Is it abstraction or is it encapsulation? Obviously, the function call is abstraction. Tushar, it is abstraction. But when I talk about definition, it is the encapsulation. The actual functionality, the how part, I'm saying it is encapsulation. Yes, Tushar. Now, also, जब हम कल private keyword देखेंगे, at that moment, I will explain you something called as information hiding. The hiding some data from the user is called as information hiding. In C++, we use access specifiers to provide information hiding. मतलब अगर मैं बोल रही थी यहाँ पे एक एग्जाम्पल लिया कि I wish to hide the salary component from some functions. In that case, I can specify something called as access specifiers. So there is private keyword, there is public keyword, there is protected keyword, and so on. That is called as encapsulation. Okay. The next feature is called as modularity. Now, have you achieved modularity in case of C programming? Yes. How? Have you divided a bigger program into smaller functions? Yes. And that is possible because we wish to achieve modularity. So when you talk about modularity, it is dividing the program into smaller modules. For the simplicity is called as modularity. For example, in case of C++ program, we can or in case of C program, we can also create multiple number of files together, compile it, join them, and execute as a one single application. So that is basically called as modularity. When you are dividing your programs into smaller modules, maybe into the functions, maybe into separate files, then that is called as modularity. Next is hierarchy. Now, if I talk about hierarchy, right? In this case, hierarchy is also called as inheritance, right? As we say, suppose I have one entity. Maybe that entity is called as person. And later on, suppose I have this entity which is having one more derivation. Maybe I'm talking about employee. I have one more entity. Maybe I have, just a second, one more entity. Maybe I have something called as a businessman, right? So this is basically have also a person, right? When I talk about person, that person may have some ID, that person may have some age, or you can say name, and that person may have age, and that person may have some, you can say, name and age. I'll take only two. But when I talk about employee, this employee may have its employee ID, maybe name, maybe age, and so on. When I talk about businessman, in that case, maybe he's having his own ID and maybe name and maybe age. So what I'm saying, I am saying whenever I am deriving something from some existing entity, then that is called as inheritance. I'll say employee is a person. So that is name and age is derived from this. Businessman is a person, then name and age can be derived from it. So if I say, if I have is a kind of relation, then I will say it is basically called as inheritance, where the person is called as superclass or parent class. and this employee, businessman, all these are called as subclass or derived class, right? So deriving the features from the existing class, I will use something called as inheritance. Deriving a new class from the old class is called as inheritance. What is the main purpose of inheritance? It is basically used for code reusability. It is used for code reusability. What is code reusability? कि मुझे अब फिर से नेम और एज एम्प्लॉय एंड बिजनेसमैन में नहीं लिखना पड़ेगा. I have declared it only once and I'm using it in different particular classes. So that is called as inheritance. So abstraction, encapsulation, modularity, I'll add modularity over here, modularity, and then finally inheritance. These all are the major pillars of object-oriented language: abstraction, inheritance, and modularity. How to achieve? We will see gradually in case of programs. But did you get the meaning or the terminology part up to this point? All right. So I've made object-oriented concepts day one, and this is major pillars. Now, why they are called as major pillars? The question is that if we talk about any language which supports abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, and modularity, if any language supports these all four features compulsory, then only हम बोलेंगे कि ये ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड लैंग्वेज है. एक भी फीचर अगर कोई लैंग्वेज इंप्लीमेंट नहीं करती है, then that is not an object oriented language. So major indicates, if I'm saying my language is object oriented programming language, it means I must have these four features compulsory in my program. Inheritance is also called as either relationship, you can say dependency, aggregation, composition. We will see that in detail, right? So these are the major pillars. What about minor pillars? Minor pillars are three. One is polymorphism, concurrency, and persistence. Let us understand. When I say, I'm saying void sum, right? In some function, I have integer a and integer b. Can you please tell me in this case, some function is taking how many arguments? 2 arguments. Maybe I'm writing integer c. In the next syntax, in the next prototype, can you please tell me some function is taking how many arguments? It is taking 3 arguments. Next, I'm writing again sum. I'm giving float a and float b. Here also, I'm having 2 arguments, but they are of type float. Again, I'm writing some function where I'm saying float a, comma, integer b, and so on. Now, in C programming, it was not possible to have same function name. In C++, can you see name of the function is same, right? Whereas the first function is taking 2 argument, second function is taking 3 argument, next function is taking 2 argument, next function is taking 2 argument. This concept is, can I also conclude like some function is taking multiple forms? If something which takes multiple forms, then that is called as polymorphism. Poly means many, morphism means forms. Something which takes multiple forms is called as polymorphism. When I say a function, any function taking different arguments, actually I can write it over here. A polymorphism is basically divided into 2 categories, rather I can say. One is the compile time another is runtime. In a case of compile time, you have two categories. One is a function overloading and second is operator overloading. And in case of runtime, it has one which is function overriding. So these are the few concepts that you need to remember. There are two categories of polymorphism. One is compile time, another is a runtime. When you talk about compile time, the function overloading and operator overloading takes place. Runtime, in that case, the function overriding takes place, right? So when you talk about runtime polymorphism, we will say function overriding. This example, function is taking multiple forms. Here, sum is taking multiple forms with different arguments. तो इस कंसेप्ट को हम बोलते हैं फंक्शन ओवरलोडिंग, राइट आशुतोष? Template is not coming under your polymorphism. Template is a different concept which gives you a generic programming, right? So here some function is taking different forms, but different arguments are there, then that is called as function overloading. There might be the scenario, I have one program, right? In that program, I may have one, you can say here, I'll write void display. Similarly, I have one more time void display, but this is in different scope and this is in different scope. So can I say yahan pe also function name is the same? Yes. Can I say function signature is also same? Yes. If function prototype is the same in a different scope, then that is called as function overriding. कैसे अचीव होता है हम बाद में देखेंगे, बट आपको एटलीस्ट डेफिनेशन पार्ट समझ में आना चाहिए. Have you understood the difference between function overloading, function overriding? These are the minor pillars, out of which first pillar, minor pillar, is polymorphism. मतलब ये necessary नहीं है कि हम हमारे program में polymorphism को implement करें. It is not compulsory that you specify every time function overloading, operator overloading, function overriding in your program to make it as an object-oriented program. Okay, so operator overloading, it is basically extending the meaning of some operator. We will see the concept of operator overloading when I will explain some operator whose meaning I'm going to extend. For example, अगर मैं बोलती हूँ 5 plus 3, you will give me answer as 8. But अगर मैं बोलती हूँ can you please give me E1 plus E2? E1 and E are the variables. Other variables objects directly. Plus is having the meaning to add only to integers. That's why we write plus operator. But if I wish to add two objects together, that means मुझे plus sign का meaning को extend करना है. And if I say I wish to extend some meaning of existing operator, I will go for operator overloading. This is called as these two works hand in hand. These two concepts are basically used when you are working with some databases. For example, if I say I have one variable which is called as balance. Okay, and suppose you are maybe you are saying withdraw of 2000. Maybe you are saying please display information. Then you are saying deposit 2000. Then you are after, let us say, 15 days, you are again saying, please give me info. Here also, you are saying fifth operation, please give me info about the balance. After 15 days, you are also giving me, also asking, I'm going into ATM and checking the balance. So assume initially I'm saying deposit 5,000. So 5,000 will be given to this balance. When I'm saying withdraw 2,000, again, this will be changed and this will become as a 3,000. Right? At this point, when I say please display the info, it will give me 3,000. Again, when I say please deposit 2,000, this will deposit 2,000 and now the value will become 5,000. If I try to display info, it is basically giving me 5,000. After 15 days, will it automatically increase to 5 lakh or 50,000? Obviously, no. Right? It will give me the answer as 5,000 only. Means, can I say it is this particular part even after I'm trying for 15 days, जितना मेरा ओरिजिनल बैलेंस था उतना ही दिखाएगा. Means it is maintaining the state of object. Can I say like this? Everyone, right? It is maintaining the state of the object, right? Next, जब मैं डिपॉजिट कर रही हूं तो मैं उसी फ्रैक्शन ऑफ टाइम पे विड्रॉ कर सकती हूँ. आंसर इज नो. I hope you remember this example in case of operating system, a critical section problem, right? In this case, can I say there must be some consistency to be maintained whenever I'm working with these types of application. Otherwise, there will be a problem of data inconsistency, race condition, and so on and so forth. To avoid it, the data must be consistent. Can we implement it using object-oriented? Yes, we can implement it. So the data consistency, concurrency means, am I executing the transaction one after the another? Yes, that is all called as basically concurrently. So concurrency is required to maintain this consistency point. So I am trying to execute concurrent transaction, means some transactions one by one to work on this particular balance. And when I say concurrent transactions are taking place, after that, ultimately, I have to maintain the state of that object. That let us discuss some of the points as far as your MCQs are concerned. Polymorphism is one interface having multiple forms is called as polymorphism. When the call to the function is resolved at compile time, it is called as compile time polymorphism. मतलब जब हम function overloading लिखते हैं, at that moment हमारा फंक्शन और हमारा ऑपरेटर ओवरलोडिंग कंसेप्ट कंपाइल टाइम पे ही रिजॉल्व होता. दैट इज कॉल्ड एज कंपाइल टाइम पॉलीमॉर्फिज्म. Concept. When you talk about function overriding, when the call to the function is resolved at runtime, it is called as runtime polymorphism. It is achieved by using overriding. So these types of questions you can expect. What is polymorphism? It is compiled how do you achieve runtime polymorphism? It is basically with the help of function overriding. The another name given to the polymorphism is nothing but typing. In a case of compile time polymorphism, we can also call it as early binding, weak typing, and false polymorphism. These are the different names given to polymorphism. When you talk about runtime, dynamic polymorphism, dynamic binding, and false polymorphism, these are the different names given to polymorphism. याद रखने हैं. The reason is the question can be asked as static polymorphism is also called as compile time polymorphism, false polymorphism, early binding, static binding, weak typing. All these terminologies are same. So you should remember this. Okay. Now, Akshay, concurrency means what? Suppose आपने कहा with deposit, right? So there will be one function called as deposit. There will be one function called as withdraw. Concurrent means one by another, one after the another. So पहले deposit function का functionality execute होगा and उसके बाद आपका withdraw functionality execute होगा. फिर अगेन अगर आपने info बोला तो info नाम का function रहेगा that will get executed. So why I am trying to execute these functions one after the another? Because I want a consistent data in my program. So I cannot say please call withdraw and deposit at the same point. No. पहले जब भी डिपॉजिट होगा तो वो ऑब्जेक्ट को लॉक कर देगा और आपका डिपॉजिट फंक्शनैलिटी एग्जीक्यूट होगा. Concurrent means one after the another such that there should be a consistency in the data. Okay, Akshay? All right. Good. So that is basically called as concurrency, right? So these are, Nilesh, serialization is basically done in case of different transactions. So when you talk about serialization, consistency, and concurrency, they work in hand, right? Serial execution of transaction can be done. For example, if I'm trying to withdraw some information from my one ATM, and let us say at the bank also manager is also trying to fetch some information from that particular, from the my account, maybe what is the balance on into this account and so on. So there are two different transactions which are taking place, and that is nothing but first my transaction will get executed, then second. So serial by you can say one after the another, serially my transaction will get executed, right? So that is serialization. So normally when you talk about concurrency, serialization, data consistency, they all work hand in hand for avoiding the inconsistent data problem. Right. Persistence means maintaining the state, Hardik. For example, जैसे यहाँ पे मैंने info किया 5,000 and after 15 days, if I'm saying again, please give me the info, it will not change automatically. For example, 5,000 का 50,000, 5 lakh, ऐसे automatically नहीं हो जाएगा. Whatever was the last updated state, it has to maintain that, and that is that is persistence. समझ में आया? Okay. So these are called as minor pillars. Why they are minor pillars? Because it is not compulsory that we implement these polymorphism, concurrency, and persistent in every program of C++. It is basically the requirement of the developer, how that developer wish to go for. Is it okay? Have you understood up to this point? All right. Now, next, we will see something called as data types in C. Have you heard some data types in C programming? Can you name it? Integer. C is not a data type. Dhanashree, C is a format specifier. Char, CH is not a data type, Rishikesh. CH is basically a variable name that you can declare for your program. Yes, integer, float, double, character, short integer, long integer, and so on and so forth, right? So these are the predefined data type, correct? Rohit, bool is not there in C programming. These all are primitive data types. Also, अगर आपको याद रहेगा मैंने enum करवाया था. enum is also one kind of data type, right? It is a user defined data type, right? We have seen structure. Structure is also one kind of a user defined data type, right? Now, when you talk about structure, enum, all these are called as derived data type. The reason is we are deriving it from by using the existing data. Now, when we talk about data types in C++, it describes three things. First, memory, nature, and operation. For example, if I'm writing integer num, so how do you talk about it? You say num is a variable, right? And you will say it will take 4 bytes of memory, right? 4 bytes. And you will say it is having a capability to store numbers, right? And you will also say, I can perform something called as arithmetic operation, something called as, okay, something called as logical operations. Then we can talk about relational operators. When we talk about conditional operator, I can perform any kind of operation onto this whole numbers. So when you talk about any variable, it talks about three things. The first thing is basically memory. How much memory is required to store the data? Second, nature. Which type of data we can store? That is whole numbers and so on. Operation. Which operations are allowed to perform on data stored inside the memory? That means if I'm declaring a variable, how your variable is basically trying to have a memory allocation, the nature of that, and then what operation we need to perform. That is called as data types in C++. Now, the fundamental data types in C++ are same: void, int, char, float, and double. What are about derived data types? Array, function, pointer, union, structure. They are derived data types. They are exactly same as your C programming is concerned. There are two more additional data types that C++ supports. That is basically bool, another is w, char, underscore t. So if someone asks you how many data types or what are the data types in C++, the data types in C++ are same as your C programming, but C++ supports two more data types. One is called as bool and another is called as wchar underscore t. Now let us understand what is bool and wchar underscore t. Now, as far as your batch is concerned, I have created one object-oriented concepts folder. It's already there onto your Git repository. आज नया मॉड्यूल है तो आपको git clone फिर से करना पड़ेगा. अगर आप git clone नहीं करते हो तो you can just go to your GitLab and you can download the data also. I have created a day one folder. Within this day one folder, again, I'm going to put all the programs, whatever I'll explain in today's class, right? So I have opened a day one folder under your C++ in this directory, which is called as file, open folder, and we are in day one. I assume now you guys are able to basically understand how you can say create a folder or open the folder, right? So I've opened, let us say, day one folder. Now I have to create a new file. I'll create the same, I will follow the same methodology. Day one underscore one dot. When we were using C program, we were giving the extension .c. When you are using C++ program, ensure you give CPP as the extension. Right? So, is my sound is not proper, Hardik? What happened with the sound? Am I audible? Okay, ठीक है. So if you want to go for C++ programming, then you have to create a file name with .cpp as the extension. When you create any CPP extension, in that case, can you see यहाँ पे C++ लिख के आ रहा है. जब आप C की फाइल बनाते थे तो यहाँ पे C आता था. यहाँ पे जब C++ बनाओगे तो यहाँ पे C++ लिख के आएगा. Right? Now, in case of C programming, the first section was file inclusion area, जहां पे आप #include stdio.h, #include stdlib.h, maybe string.h, and so on and so forth. Then, what was the entry point function? Main was the entry point function for C programs. In case of C++, main is the same as an entry point function for C++. But in case of C++, we include #include IOStream. You do not have to give .h, it automatically understands. So if you are writing a C++ program, you need to include a header file called as IOStream header file. I'll say in case of C++, you have to write using namespace std semicolon. अब ये हम क्यों लिखते हैं, आज लेक्चर के एंड में आपको डिटेल में समझ में आएगा. For time being, I would request you can consider that this is the syntax. That's fine for me. The reason I will tell after the end of the session. There is one main, right? And I'll say return 0. The way you were writing the main program in C programming, then same main function you can write in C++. Now, I'm saying I will use bool b1. Bool stands for Boolean data type and b is one variable of that. I'll write equal to 1. So here I'll say b is a variable of type Boolean, where 1 is for true and 0 is for false. So I will write printf, since C is C++ is extension of C. अब तक मैंने आपको C का you can say हमने अभी तक C++ के C and C out statements नहीं देखे हैं. So for initial 1 or 2 programs, I will write printf only. So if I write %d, I'll write b. So you can just write here b is equal to, instead of 1, I can write true also. It's predefined keyword. So let us compile the code. How do we compile C code? We write gcc program name.c. How do we compile C++ code? We have to write g++ program name _1 .cpp. So if you wish to compile C program, then you have to work with GCC. If you want to work with C++, you type g++ program name .cpp. It will also generate a.exe in for your program. Let it get executed. Let it get compiled first, and then we will see the output. It takes time. Yes, Apara, you can implement your app. Whatever you wish to give a name, you can. /a.exe. It is 1. Okay. So have you understood? No, you have to give this instruction only, Apara, if you are using VS Code. G++ and program name .cpp a.exe. Have I got 1 as a value? Yes, it is because it is having the true value. Similarly, if I'm writing bool, b is equal to false. False is also a predefined keyword which is having the value which is called as a 0. So I will have day1_1.cpp compilation and execution, and I'm getting 0. So if I want a condition kind of thing, maybe it is true or false, maybe it is 0 or 1, then I will go for which type of data type? Answer is Boolean data type. समझ में आया? Everyone? Yes or no? Yes. Let us go ahead with finding the size of Boolean variable. I'll say person D. I'll say size of B. B is a small. Also, I will try to find size of bool. Bool data type. I'll say someone make sure you do. Please follow the protocols. Okay. Yes. So I will have bool. So I'll just compile it and let us try to execute. It should give me for both as 1 and 1. Yes, Hartika? Can you see the output? Size of Boolean variable is 1. Size of Boolean data type is also 1. जैसे हम size of integer find करते थे, variable का size find करते थे, वैसे मैंने आपको line number 11 and 12 बताया. Is it okay? Have you understood? Right. Hardika, we have didn't use stdio.h. How to use printf? It is because your IO stream implicitly or internally converts basically, you can say your programs it is extension of C. So IO stream header file में सारे आपके C के भी functions existing है. So no need to include stdio.h. Okay. Akshay, why it is 1? जैसे आपको इंटीजर वेरिएबल का साइज कितना मिलता है 4 बाइट्स. साइज ऑफ इंटीजर डेटा टाइप कितना मिलता है 4 बाइट्स. तो boolean is having 1 byte of memory storage. तो here b is one variable of type bool, इसलिए its size is 1. Bool is basically one data type. What is its size? 1 byte. Okay. So bool data type holds how much memory allocation? 1 byte. समझ में आया यहां तक? All right. I'll make this as commented. You can include swapnil, but nothing to worry about stdio.h because stdio.h के सारे functions are embedded into your IO stream. Okay. Have you understood? All right. All right. So, do you remember the ASCII set? All right. So, now let us understand the ASCII set. 0 to 255 is my ASCII set value. All right. Now, हमें 0 to 255 ही क्यों है? It is because मेरे कीबोर्ड में A to Z, small a to Z, right? 0 to 9 and some special characters, right? ये सारे अगर आप काउंट भी करोगे तो maximum there are 255 keys. Are you understanding, everyone? Right? It means if I talk about the character set in my English language is not beyond your 255. And that is the reason character को हमने 1 byte दिया है. 1 byte is equal to 2 raised to 8, which is 256. And basically 256 indicates what? 0 to 255. Have you understood up to this point? Everyone? All right. Now, suppose if I talk about I'm working with international language, right? In that case, The language which is having more than character set. Or have you ever heard about something called as Unicode character set? Right? जिनका कैरेक्टर सेट बड़ा है, मतलब उनके पास नंबर ऑफ कैरेक्टर्स उनकी लैंग्वेज में ज्यादा है, तो मैं क्या 255 के बाद अगर मेरे पास 300 कैरेक्टर सेट है, तो क्या मैं उसको कैरेक्टर डेटा टाइप में स्टोर कर सकती हूँ क्या? Obviously, no, I cannot. For example, if you consider a Japanese language, or you can consider any other foreign language in which their character set is huge than your normal English language, right? So in that case, अगर मुझे प्रोग्रामिंग करना है, I cannot go for character data type. But I wish to go for character data type, and for that, C++ give me one more data type, which is called as wcar underscore t. This is the data type. समझ में आया? So I'll write int main. Is it okay? Are you understanding what is the need of wcar underscore t? For time being, if I'm saying I'm not working in English language, I am working on some Unicode character set, or I'm working on some foreign language, I need a bigger character set values. If I want bigger character set values, I will go for a data type which is called as wcar underscore t. तो ऐसे इसमें क्या रहेगा? For more data storage नहीं, for more range of character storage, Hardik. Just a little modification into your sentence. Okay, so for more set of characters, if I want to include, if I want to store, I will go for wcar underscore t as a data type. I'll write here w. And for time being, obviously in my keyboard, I do not have any other, you can say, I do not have any other keys. So I will use the same letter A. But whenever you are defining a wcar underscore t, it's a good practice, precede it with capital L. Capital L indicates long character, right? And why it is long character? From this, your compiler will understand it is basically long character, or you can also call it as wide character literal. However you say, it's a L stands for literal actually. So let us try to print it. Obviously, if I want to print, I'll write %, let us say C, and I'll write W. No doubt, it is going to give me the letter A. The reason is it is also one character. Let us compile and check. Can you see I'm getting the character A? Yes. Let us try to print the size. %d. अपारा जैसे आप इंटीजर के लिए int डेटा टाइप यूज करते हो, राइट? सिमिलरली बूलियन के लिए आपने बूल डेटा टाइप एग्जैक्ट यूज किया, वो लैंग्वेज फीचर है. Similarly, wcar underscore t collectively is known as a predefined data type. Okay, so I'll write size of w, comma, size of wcar underscore t. Can you see? जैसे ही मैं wcar underscore t लिखती हूँ, its color is the same as my integer data type because it is also a data type. That's why. Let us check the output. Here, some compilers gives you the answer as 2 bytes. Some compilers gives you the answer as a 4 bytes. Here, first printf is printing me character A. Second, size of W. What is W? W is wcar underscore t. What it gives me is 2. wcar underscore t, size of wcar underscore t is again giving me 2. This size may vary based on compiler to compiler. That's the reason we never go for wcar underscore t. समझ में आया everyone? Line number 7 is basically Pawan, जैसे आप int a is equal to 4 लिखते हो, So what does it mean? A is a variable, 4 is a value, data type is integer. Here, wchar underscore t is a data type, w is a variable, character A is stored into w. Since I'm using long character, so I'm using capital L. Right. Rani, I have tried to display the size of variable and size of wchar underscore t. Iska output will be displayed in %d. Iska output will be displayed in %d. What is w? W is one variable. Of which type? Wchar underscore t. How much its size? It's 2. And if I try to find direct data type size, it is always a 2. You can go for 2 bytes, no problem. Akshay. Right. Someone asked me ASCII value. If you use %d, let us say I'm writing char value in %d and I'm saying ASCII value in %d, w comma w. Let us check. Can you check? ASCII value will never change. इसका मतलब क्या? ऐसे रहेगा कि wchar underscore t का साइज 2 बाइट्स है, आउट ऑफ विच फर्स्ट बाइट में हमारे एग्जिस्टिंग ASCII वैल्यूज रहेंगे 0 to 255, 256 ऑनवर्ड्स उन्होंने नए कोड्स दिए रहेंगे. आर यू गेटिंग मी? That is but obvious because ASCII नहीं fix किए हैं 65 and that is basically the value which is universally accepted. That's a standard. They cannot change. If you want to add on after 256, 257, 258 and so on. समझ में आया? This is about wchar underscore t. It can store 16-bit character. It can take 2 bytes in the memory. Bool takes true or false. It can take 1 byte in the memory. Is it okay? All right. Now, let us go to the next point, which is called as structure in C and structure in C++. Do you remember कल हमने structure in C लिखा था? Yes or no? Yes. Now, I will give one example, 1_2.c file first. Okay. Let me write one C program stdio.h hash include std, or you can say just stdio.h header file. Now, I'll say I will write a structure in which I have to take some data and I have to display some data. Okay. And I will write the same program using C and using C++. So, to understand employee, where I have integer ID and I have called as structure declaration in C program. I will write me and I'm going to explain you one more concept which is called as structure and functions. Now, what I this complete data, maybe I'm saying struct employee E1, where I'll say printf enter ID scanf %d. I can take the next field, enter salary, and I can take I of 2 fields, ID and salary. You can declare salary in float. That's absolutely fine. I've just taken integer. Variables depends on you. Now, I'm saying return E1. Can my याद है क्या सबको? अगर मेरा फंक्शन कैरेक्टर रिटर्न करता है तो मैं रिटर्न टाइप क्या लिखती हूँ. If my function is not returning anything, तो मैं लिखती थी void. Now, can you please tell me what my function is returning structure variable. Can I say structure return करता है? Can I write here struct employee collectively as a return type? Everyone. If you are writing a function which is returning integer value, you write return type as integer. If you're writing if you're writing a function returning a structure variable, that means obviously I will write return type as a struct employee. So can I write its declaration like this? Can I say this is a function declaration who is returning a structure, a function returning structure. Everyone, if you remember, I wish to write except num function. I'll relate it with it. I'll take it from user, enter num. And I'll say here, I'll declare integer num. I'll say scanf %d address of num. और मैं बोलती हूँ return num. राइट तो आप यहाँ पे रिटर्न टाइप क्या लिखते थे? एवरीवन इंटीजर. वेरी गुड. क्यों? क्योंकि मेरा फंक्शन रिटर्न कर रहा है इंटीजर. ऑलराइट. इफ आई विश टू गिव अ कॉल, राइट, ये मेरा हुआ एक्सेप्ट नंबर फंक्शन डेफिनेशन पार्ट. कैन आई से इसका डिक्लेरेशन मैं यहाँ पे अगर लिखती हूं तो आई कैन से एक्सेप्ट नम is a function who is returning integer. Obviously, yes. Is it a function declaration? Yes. How will you give a call? I'll write integer n. I'll say accept num. अब वो ये फंक्शन को कॉल करेगा. फंक्शन को कॉल किया. फंक्शन is returning one value. Do I need a locator for it? तो मैं यहाँ पे क्या लिखती हूँ? n is equal to. Do you remember this concept? If I say, I'll put this complete code into comments for your reference. Now I'm saying I need to accept a function where I will accept two fields and I'm returning a structure variable. So I should have a return type as a structure only. That's why structure employee, except this is a declaration part. Now I'll say I'll create struct employee E, and I'm saying except. I'll give a function call. When I give a function call, it will have ID, it will have salary. I'm returning E1. Can I say I need to have a variable as a locator? Integer return किया, integer में store होगा. Structure return किया, structure में store होगा. Right? This is called as E is of type structure. अब मुझे display function में E लिखना है. What is this display? This is another function. Void display. What I have to display? I have to display a structure variable. So I'll write struct employee E. Have you understood the declaration part? So function who is having a argument of type structure. जब डिस्प्ले फंक्शन में नम डिस्प्ले करना है तो मैं इंटीजर नम पास करती थी. अगर मुझे डिस्प्ले फंक्शन में पूरा स्ट्रक्चर डिस्प्ले करना है तो आई विल हैव टू गिव अ कॉल टू display function by passing that variable. Is it okay, everyone? So I will define this function. I'll say printf e dot id, or I'll say percent d. One is id, another is salary. I'll say e dot id, e dot salary. I'm writing a C program because I want to explain you the difference between structure in C and structure in C++. So it is day1 underscore 2 dot C program, GCC. Let's hit enter. I'll just start the server too after this program ./a.exe. It's asking me ID, it's asking me some salary, and I'm displaying it. प्रोग्राम समझ में आया? कल के जैसे ही है, सिर्फ डिफरेंस क्या है, अब मैंने स्ट्रक्चर एंड फंक्शन यूज किया. ठीक? Is it okay, everyone? Now, if I'm saying at this point, this was the C program. Can you observe in except function, I have created a variable E1 and directly I have got the access E1.id, E1.salary. Yes. Can I also say when I have written a display function, I have also got the access to E.id and E.salary directly. Right? Now, when I say in main, whether in this function or whether into this function, I have to use dot variable. Can I use, everyone? Yes or no? Yes. Second important point. If I declare except function and display function, those who are using my structure, in that case, can I say these two are using this and they are in the global area? मेरा except function और display function कहाँ पे declared है? Global area में declared है. Are you agreeing with this? Everyone, right? जब भी मेरा function global area में है, have I called them directly with the function name? Only except and display? Yes. This is called as structure in C programming. Now, I will make little modification into this program and will show you the error. I'll copy this code and I'll say here, in this scenario, suppose I am writing this except function and display function within the structure itself. Within the structure itself. Let us compile this code. Can you see somewhere in some bracket missing? Line number 12. Okay. So it is giving me this error which says expected colon. ठीक है. अब हम क्या करते हैं? हम इसको void except नाम दे देते हैं. And I'm saying मैं इसी स्ट्रक्चर के अंदर एक फंक्शन डिफाइन करती हूँ and I'm not returning it. I'm just writing the function definition and another void display. That's it. And I'm closing this. Means I try to define the structure, I try to define the functions within the structure body. One is void accept, another is void display, and this is my structure body. I'm not writing any function outside it. Now let us see, it is giving me error, declare display. It means that in a case of C programs, we cannot use or we cannot define functions within the structure scope. So I'll write, we cannot define functions inside the structure body in case of C programming. It's not allowed. Is it okay? Have you understood? सिर्फ जब हम सी प्रोग्राम लिखते हैं, सी प्रोग्राम में स्ट्रक्चर के अंदर we can only have data members. We cannot have functions within the structure body. Did you get it, everyone? So, in case of C, we can include only variables into the structure. That is first point. Second, we need to pass a structure variable by value or by address to the function. That means अगर मुझे ऐसा एक function लिखना है which is taking arguments, in that case that is allowed, but those function must be in the global area. Next point, it should not be defined within the structure definition part. Can you say अगर मैं यहाँ पे structure employee का variable बनाती हूँ main में, I will be able to access it. If I create a variable inside accept, I will be able to access it. If I create a variable inside display, I will be able to access it. That is called as, in wherever I'm going to create a structure variable, that particular function will be having the accessibility to all the structure elements. Next, एक्सेप्ट फंक्शन लिखा था जहां पे मैंने स्ट्रक्चर का आर्गुमेंट पास किया था. सो दिस was about C structure in addition to the last lecture. Have you understood up to this point, everyone? All right. So what we can do is first day1_3.cpp. I'll create a separate file. All right. So I'll explain the structure in C++. Shall we take a break first and then continue? Shall we take a break? Okay. Let's take a break of and namespace concept. Okay. All right. I'll stop the recording as a first part. We'll be uploading it soon. I hope I'm audible. Okay. Thick. So let us continue with structure in C++. So what we have concluded from structure in C is basically we cannot have a structure which is we cannot have a structure, okay, inside a function within the structure, rather I would say, in case of C programming. Now I have created another file which is day1_3.cpp, which indicates it's a C++ program. Just give me a second, I will start the server. It is day 1, right? So that you will be able to code along with me. I purposefully have not started initially. Just let me start. It's OC04. 1 minute, huh? All right. You can just refresh the page, and I have started the server now. Just refresh the page and you will be able to see the code part at your end. All right. So let us start with including the header file, that is iostream header file. I will have integer main and void. I'll have return 0. Now, when I talk about a structure declaration in C++, it is exactly same as your C program. So I'll write struct employee. I have integer ID and maybe integer salary. The major difference over here is, as soon as I have created a C++ program, I can have a function definition within its body, right? I'll directly ask from user, enter ID and scanf %d address of ID. Can you observe the next major difference? जब अब तक हम C में प्रोग्राम लिख रहे थे, at that moment, we were trying to write address of e.id and we were trying to write address of e.salary. Bardik, you can turn off your video, right? मतलब मुझे जब मैं किसी भी फंक्शन को outside the structure लिख रही थी C में, at that moment, we were trying to access the element with the help of structure variable name dot that member name. Have I accessed it here with the structure variable name? No, I did not. This is the second difference. So I'll write again, enter salary. Okay. So scanf %d address of salary. Have I defined the function within the structure body? Yes. Next, void display. I'll write printf ID is %d, salary is %d. I'll say ID and salary. Now, let me explain this over here. Now observe carefully. My structure definition have started from this line to this line. I have defined a structure. I have defined two functions. One is void accept, another is void display within the structure body. Are you able to see the difference over here? Next, second, till this point, in case of C, if I would like to access ID and salary can be accessed outside the structure using structure variable name. तो C में हमने क्या किया था? We have used C में emp e.id, e.salary and so on. You can go for printf, scanf and so on in case of C++ 2 Tejaswini. The reason is your stdio.h के सारे functions are embedded into your iostream.h, iostream header file. Iostream stands for input output stream, right? Now, can you please tell me ID and salary इनको हम क्या बोलेंगे? What are these? What are these? ID and salary are देवीदास, मोनाली, अश्विनी, क्या ये वेरिएबल्स है? नेवर, they are the data fields or elements or members or data members. आपको याद है क्या? ये कल ही बताया था कंसेप्ट. Whatever number of variables you declare within the structure, all those are called as data fields or members or data members or the elements. Why they are called as members? It is because they belong to the structure employee, which is called as member of the structure. इसलिए हम उनको member बोलते हैं. Kind of they belong to its own body. That's why they are called as members. यहां तक समझ में आया? Right. Now, can I say accept and display function is defined within the structure employee? Right. That's why they are called as. Are they the functions? Yes. मैं उनको functions बोलूंगी, but they are defined within the structure body. That's why मैं उनको बोलूंगी member functions. Have you understood what do you mean by member functions and the data members? It is basically whatever number of variables you are defining within the structure body are called as data members. Whatever number of functions you are defining within the structure definition, then those are called as member functions. Absolutely fine. Now, if I say I would like to write main, where I would like to write or I would like to create a struct employee E. अब आप मुझे बताओ what is E over here? What is E over here? E is a structure variable. कल का सिंटैक्स है, याद है क्या? Right. Why do I create a structure variable? Because I wish to access the data members of that structure. Can I write E dot ID is equal to 8, E dot salary is equal to 70,000? Can I write like this? Right. Ab, can I give a call to accept function? Can I give a call to display function? Of अगर मैं accept लिखती हूँ, will it search this function in the global area? Obviously yes, because सिर्फ accept लिखा तो वो global area में लिखेगा. मुझे कौन से structure का accept function कॉल करना है? Employee structure का. I have to go for E dot accept E dot display or E1 dot accept E1 dot display, however you go for. Have you understood? E1 I'll write. Let us say E1 dot accept and E1 dot display. Here I'll just write E dot display. Let us understand the flow now. I'm saying I have created two variables. One is E, another is E1. So obviously in my structure, I will have two fields. One is ID and second is salary. Right? Suppose I will have this as variable 1, this as variable 2. Here, I will write here as this variable 1, variable 2. This variable name I've given as E. This variable name I've given, let us say, E1. First variable name, I've allocated the value as ID 8 and salary, let us say I've given as 70,000. Right? Whatever it is. Maybe 4 zeros. Okay. Next, I have said E1 dot display, E dot display. अब E क्या है? E is my structure variable. dot display will go, dot display will go to the display function, right? And inside this display function, I'm just printing salary and ID. Will it display salary and ID? Yes. Okay. Next time, I have given a call E1 dot accept. Will it go to E1 dot accept? Yes, it will go. So first it will take E1 dot accept. It will take some ID. Maybe I'm saying 1 and maybe I'm saying, let us say 10,000. So obviously this will be 1 and this will be 10,000. And later on I'm saying e dot display, so it will e1 dot display. It will check what is the data into e1. Yes, this is the data. Will it go to e1 dot display? Yes, it will display that id and salary. Means जिस वेरिएबल के ऊपर मैंने एक्सेप्ट एंड डिस्प्ले फंक्शन को कॉल किया है, रिस्पेक्टिव वेरिएबल विल गेट द कंट्रोल आउट ऑफ इट. Have you understood the flow of writing the member function within the structure? Right? Let us write then. Inside this, I'm declaring struct employee e comma e1 comma e2. So I'll say created two variables of type employee. Right? Okay, Hardika and Tejaswini, let's understand. If I write E1 dot ID is equal to 1, E1 dot salary is equal to 50,000. Can I write like this in the main? Everyone, Tejaswini, Hardika, because E1 is a variable which can have the accessibility to ID and salary directly. So I have assigned 1 and I have assigned 50,000. I will say E1 dot display. Will it go to display function? Yes. Kiska display function? E1 dot object. So dot is used to, can I say here, dot is used to access the data members of the structure employee. Right? Here I'll say dot is used or dot operator is used to access the member function of structure employee. अब समझ में आया? Everyone, right? Now let us compile this for the first time. It is a C++ program. So we should write G++ day1_3.cpp. So it will go to display function. It will go to display function, display ID and salary. ./a.exe. Can you see I'm getting this? Everyone. Now, a most important sentence I'll write. Display function is called upon which structure variable? Display function is called upon which structure variable? E1 structure variable. Is it displaying me the E1 structure variable data? Of course, yes. All right. Now, I'm saying E2 dot accept. What it will do? It will go to accept function. It will go over here. It will take your ID. It will take your salary. And I'm saying E2 dot display. Let us check it once again. First, it should display E1 record. For E2, is it asking me enter the ID? I'm saying 2. Is it asking me some salary? Yes. Am I getting E2 dot ID and salary for the E2? Means can I say here display function is called upon which structure variable? E2 structure variable. जिस वेरिएबल के ऊपर आप फंक्शन को कॉल करते हो उस वेरिएबल का डेटा वो डिस्प्ले कर रहा है। मेरे सी प्रोग्राम में अगर आपको याद रहेगा, लेट मी गो अहेड वन मोर टाइम टू दिस सी प्रोग्राम। कैन यू सी एक्सेप्ट एंड डिस्प्ले फंक्शन वर डिक्लेयर्ड इन द ग्लोबल एरिया। हमने कहीं पे भी डॉट ऑपरेटर नहीं यूज किया था because they were declared in the global area. But in case of C++ program, I have written the function within the body of the structure that is treated as a member function. And to give a call to the member function of the structure, we should always use a dot operator. So have you understood the difference between structure in C and structure in C++? You can define variable as well as functions in the structure that is in C++. We do not pass structure variable. Can you see? Directly हमने dot operator से function को call किया. Directly हमने dot operator से function को call किया. So we do not pass within the function also. So here we write it as T1, where T1 is a variable name, dot operator this. Have you understood, everyone? Good. Now, if yes, I will take the next problem with the structure only. Ab, the question that I'm asking you, please listen carefully. Can you please tell me, in this program, is my accept function is accessing the structure data members directly? I'll repeat my question. Is my accept function is accessing the member fields or fields of the structure directly? क्या मेरे एक्सेप्ट फंक्शन के अंदर मैं आईडी एंड सैलरी को डायरेक्ट एक्सेस कर पा रही हूं? आंसर इज यस. Why yes? Because accept is the member function of the same structure only. Can I say like this? मतलब अगर एक फैमिली है जिसमें बहुत फैमिली मेंबर्स है, they share some data. Similarly, here also a structure employee is one kind of a family which consists of data members and the member functions. But these functions are having the accessibility directly to ID and salary because the accept is defined within the structure employee, right? Second, can I say display function is also having the accessibility for ID and salary directly? Yes. Why? Because it is a member function of structure employee. यहां तक समझ में आया? Everyone, direct access हो रहा है. Now, can you observe and tell me, in my main, I have created E1 and E2 variables, where is my main function is having the direct accessibility to ID and salary? Still yes. The reason is मैंने सिर्फ एक स्ट्रक्चर का वेरिएबल बनाया और मेरे को आईडी एंड सैलरी कंपोनेंट को डायरेक्ट एक्सेसिबिलिटी है. समझ में आया? Everyone, right? It means that the ID and salary are by default public. By default public means अगर मेरे पास यहाँ पे I'm taking one assumption, void test नाम का फंक्शन रहता था, and if I would have created struct employee emp, will I be able to emp id is equal to 3, emp dot salary is equal to something, and I'll give semicolon. ये मुझे allowed है क्या इस प्रोग्राम में? Is it allowed? Yes, of course it is allowed. Why? Because I've created a correct structure variable, and through the structure variable, I am able to access the fields in direct way, right? But what I want a restriction. I want a restriction such that this particular fields should not be accessible. So by default it was public. मैंने इसके पहले लिख दिया प्राइवेट और इसके बाद लिख लिया पब्लिक. अब आप ऑब्जर्व करो. Let us observe. As soon as normally here I'll say data members are declared as private. Means ऐसे कुछ data members जो मुझे outside the program किधर भी direct access नहीं होने चाहिए. And here member functions are declared as public. Okay, so if I say member functions are declared as public, it means मैंने यहाँ पे keyword लिख लिया public and colon. After that, whatever is in the program is public. I have written private over here. It means ID and salary both are private. Now, let us read the errors. I'll just save it and I'll clear the screen, compile it. Just a second. Okay, I'll just save it and I will compile it. Okay, can you see the error? It says ID is private within this context. That is but obvious. In main के अंदर वो दे रहा है. Yes, Pawan, I'll tell you. Even.id is not accessible. ID salary is private within this context. That means salary cannot be declared because it is declared as private. Now observe, I'll remove this test function. I am getting the error at this location. Even.id को comment किया, even.salary को comment किया. I'm asking for even.accept function. Will it go to accept function? Yes. Will it take the data? Yes. Even.display? Yes. E2.accept? Yes. E2.display? Yes. Now please understand and observe. Let us check and execute. First ID, first salary. Second ID, second salary. It is displaying me the proper output. What has happened in this scenario is there is a necessary sometimes assume. I'll save this structure. Now, let us assume I have declared ID and salary. Assume मैंने इसको कुछ भी declare नहीं किया तो by default it is public. And ये मेरा main function है. Right? And here inside this, I have accept function. Aniraj, let me just explain. Here I have a display function. Can I say this is one family, which is nothing but my structure declaration, which is having two data fields and two functions. Let us assume I have a main function. Let us assume I have a test function. Maybe one or more function. So I'm having this scenario. This is my structure. This is my main function. This is my another function. And this is the another function. Let us say this is F1 and this is F2. All right. Now what happens over here is, can I access main ke through ID and salary directly? Answer is yes. Right? Can I access F1 ke through ID and salary? Answer is yes. Can I access F2 ke through ID and salary? Answer is yes. अब सपोज अगर मेरा मेन F1 F2 इस डेटा के ऊपर हमेशा चेंज कर सकते हैं. So suppose in the main, if I write inside the main, if I write initially E1 dot accept and E1 dot display, right? Suppose accept में I have given the data as a 10 and 50,000. Assume display will display me this. But if I write E1 dot ID is equal to 20, will it make the change over here as 20? And if I say E1 dot display, obviously it will give me output as 20 and 50,000. Are you getting? That means I have written one function जो इसका member function है. Member function को ही मेरे private data members को accessibility मिलनी चाहिए. Because आगे चल के suppose F1 बोलता है now I want E1 dot ID is equal to 30. तो फिर से will it make it as 30? Yes. It means any other function who is having the accessibility of these data members can make the modification into any of the field. मतलब कोई भी आके उस फैमिली में आके they can make some modifications and then go out. Are you getting? Are you getting the things? That is the reason normally we declare these fields as private. Normally we declare these as private. अब private से क्या हो जाएगा? Only accept function and display function will have the direct accessibility towards this and towards this because वो उस family के members ही है. So there are some private things which are available at home and only the family members have the accessibility on the private data. Are you getting? Similarly, ID and salary, if I keep it as private, directly on the private data members. So if I want to achieve providing some security in my program, तो मैं मेरे प्रोग्राम में मेरे डेटा मेंबर्स के आगे प्राइवेट लिख दूंगी. इसका मतलब क्या? ओनली एम्प्लॉय स्ट्रक्चर के मेंबर फंक्शंस ही आईडी एंड सैलरी को डायरेक्ट एक्सेस कर सकते हैं. इसलिए जब मैंने यहाँ पे डायरेक्ट एक्सेस किया मेन के अंदर भी, मेन को भी अलाउड नहीं है. दैट इज कॉल्ड एज hiding the data from the function, and I am achieving which OP concept? Data hiding concept. Have you understood the need of declaring the data members as private such that no other function should have the direct accessibility in the private data members of that function, of that particular structure? That is called as private, and it is data hiding concept. अब समझ में आया? तो F1 में मैंने अगर वेरिएबल बनाया भी, फॉर एग्जाम्पल हाउ विल आई क्रिएट अ वेरिएबल? आई राइट struct employee, let us say E2. Will I have direct access to E2.id is equal to 40? No. E2.salary is equal to something? Answer is no. I will not have the direct accessibility. अगर मुझे ID और salary को E2 के लिए भी accept करना है, I have to compulsory give a call to E2.accept and E2.display. अब समझ में आया? how we can give a private data members. So if someone wish to come at my place, obviously that person cannot come directly. First he has to ask, can I come? Then only that person will be able to allow. That means indirectly F1 function is giving a call to accept function, and accept is giving the accessibility for ID and salary. I hope now you are able to link between what is private and what is public. You have to give a call to the function if you want to go for private data members accessibility. Is it okay? Got it? So in a case of structure, I'll write, in a case of structure, by default, member, or you can say all the members means कौन कौन? एक होता है data members, और दूसरा होता है member functions. इनको ही हम members बोलते हैं. They are public, right? But if we wish to hide the members, we use which keyword? Private keyword. तो अब अगर प्राइवेट कीवर्ड को हम बोलते हैं एक्सेस स्पेसिफायर. एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट नीलेश, गुड. सो इफ आई से, अब अगर मेरे नेक्स्ट टीममेट को मेरा प्रोग्राम देखना है, तो क्या मुझे उसको बताना पड़ेगा क्या कि मेरा एक स्ट्रक्चर डिक्लेयर किया हुआ है, आईडी एंड सैलरी तो आउटसाइड द फंक्शन नहीं यूज कर सकते हैं? कैन आई से? वो यहाँ पे मुझे बताने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी, बिकॉज वो उसको डायरेक्ट दिख रहा है कि इट इज डिक्लेयर्ड एज प्राइवेट. This is called as achieving the OOP concepts by implementing. Is it okay? Hope you have understood. Everyone. So public क्यों declare करते हैं, private क्यों declare करते हैं? I hope you all have understood the meaning of public and private access specifiers. All right. Let us go ahead. Before going ahead, I'll write using namespace std. I'll write integer main. Why I'm writing std? थोड़ी देर में पता चलेगा. If I say I wish to enter num, I just write printf. I'll say enter num. I'll say scanf, and I'll say %d address of num. Right? And if I say printf, I'll be able to get the value of num, and I'll say num. Okay, so let us compile this code. It will take one numeric value from me and it will display that value to me. So I'll write 1, it is giving me 1. I'll write 56, it will give me 56, and so on. Instead of printf, in a case of C++, we can use cout. What is cout? Cout stands for console output. Console output is basically used to print the data on the output screen. What I have to print? I have to print enter num. The console out takes one argument, which is called as insertion operator. This operator is basically 2 less than sign. So exactly similar to printf, but instead of printf and giving brackets, we use cout and this. Next, instead of scanf, I'll write cin. Cin stands for console input. क्या input लेना है? num input लेना है. C का syntax थोड़ा सा और डिफिकल्ट था, हमें फॉर्मेट स्पेसिफायर्स बताने थे. C++ में हमें फॉर्मेट स्पेसिफायर बताने की जरूरत नहीं है. There is no need to specify the format specifiers for accepting the input. Also, can you observe there is no need to specify the address location also. It's a very simple syntax. Cin num, it will take one integer value from user and it will store into num variable. Did you all get it? Instead of scanf, we can use cn. Later on, if I say I wish to print num, I will write like this. Num will be displayed as it is on the double, it is inside the double quotes, so it will be displayed as it is on the output screen. And if I write a num, so it will take that value. Whatever number of things you wish to print on the output screen, those number of times you wish to use or you have to use these many operators. Right? Pawan, if printf and scanf is allowed in C++, why cin and cout? Because it is more convenient to use cin and cout rather than printf. No need to give format specifier and nothing. So they have included cin and cout in your language as an additional feature. Format specifiers nahi hai yahan pe. It's asking me enter the number. I'm saying 30. It is displaying num as it is. Operator, which is called as insertion operator, and this num. cin and cout. और डिटेल में हम कल देखेंगे. पहले अभी हम namespace देखेंगे. The reason is I wanted you all of you to understand just cin and cout because I will require in namespace. समझ में आया cout कैसे लिखने का, cin कैसे लिखने का? All right. All right. Shall I go ahead to the next topic, which is called as namespace? Is it okay? Tick. So I will create a new file, day1_4.cpp. Maybe I'll write it like this, int main, let's say void, turn 0. All right. To understand the concept, within cin you use extraction, right, Tushar? We will see cin cout tomorrow one more time, nothing to worry. Just आप इतना याद रखो कि when you talk about cout, you wish to print something on the output screen similar to printf. When you want to take input, you will use cin as if you are using scanf. But in case of cout and cin, there are no format specifiers into it. Okay. Good. Now, suppose, let us move to the concept of namespace. STD, aati hu Akshay. I'll come to the respective queries at correct point of time. You will get answers, right? As I said, STD आपको आज lecture के last में समझ में आएगा. तो before leaving, you will understand this. ठीक है? STD is the standard namespace. Now, let us say I'm saying I have a C drive. In my C drive, I have a folder, let us say books. I have a folder, let us say movies. I have a folder called as programs, right? Maybe I have a folder called as music. Now, can you please tell me in this C drive, can I have the same folder books 2 number of times? Is it allowed? Is it allowed? आपने कभी create किया है? Obviously, it will create a conflict. It will give me, it is already existing. Thus, this is not allowed. But if I say I have a D drive, right, in which I have books, in which I have movies, in which I have CPP programs, right, in which I have, let us say, OS subject and so on and so forth. All these are folders. तो क्या अब मुझे allowed है कि D drive में books, D drive में movies? Yes. Can I say name is the same? Correct. Also, can I say data inside my C drive can be different or maybe same? Here also, it can be different. It can be same. All right. If I say I wish to access, go for search in books. What your system will give you? Yes, books is available in the C drive also. Books is available in D drive also. Right? But if I write specific, please go to C drive books. Will it go to C drive books? Will it go to D drive books folder? Obviously, yes, right? That's the reason why we are giving it over here C and D drive. Here C and D drive are nothing but namespaces. Are nothing but namespaces. We have created two different spaces for storing same variable names. I'll say here this books and books in both the cases, these are called as variables inside the namespaces. समझ में आया? Everyone. The next scenario. Assume. Okay. Assume I have created one single program and I want in one program same variable name. Let us say I'm considering rate of interest, ROI. ठीक है? ROI. ठीक है? And one time I may have to go for rate of interest as 0.8. At one point of time, I may have to go at rate of interest as 0.5, right? I have written a program where here I wish to go for 0.8 value. Again, program, I want 0.5 value. Maybe program, I want 0.8 value. Maybe again, I want to go for 0.5 value. Means what I want to say over here is, here also I want ROI variable name, rate of interest variable name, because ये एक ही application है. तो अलग अलग rate of interest के लिए it will be very difficult for me to manage the variable names. What I want in my program is, I want to go for the same variable name with two different values. जब मैं बोलती हूँ 0.8, it should go over here. जब मैं बोलती हूँ this 0.8, it should go over here. अगर मैं बोलती हूँ I want to go for this, it should go over here, and I want this value, it should go over here. Now, is it possible that in one single program, I will have two variable names having the same name with different values simultaneously? Is it possible? Obviously, no, it is not possible. And to achieve this kind of scenario, I will use, let us say, I'll write namespace N1. And here I will close this, where I'll write, let us say, integer ROI. Like this. Here, I'll again say namespace N2. And maybe I'll write integer ROI. And I'll close this scope. So if I say here N1 ROI, will it refer to the first variable? Yes. If I say N2 ka ROI, obviously it will go over here. N1 ROI or N2 ROI, will it go to the respective variables and fetch the data for me? Yes. This is what is the basic requirement for namespace. समझ में आया यहाँ तक? Everyone. Right. Now, the most important and most frequently operator which is used in C++ is scope resolution operator. I'll write it over here. Scope resolution operator. It looks like colon and colon. What does the scope resolution operator does? If we wish to, अभी scope resolution operator के ना बहुत सारे uses है. There are 5 to 6 different uses, but I will give you the explanation of scope resolution operator one by one as and when I will cover the topic. So I'm explaining the first use of scope resolution is if we wish to access the namespace variables, then we go for scope resolution. How to use it? I will write namespace name, scope resolution, variable name, and semicolon. So if I say N1 scope resolution ROI, उसको वैल्यू क्या है 0.8. N2 scope resolution ROI, उसकी वैल्यू क्या है 0.5. So जैसे स्ट्रक्चर में हमने डॉट ऑपरेटर देखा था to access the values, similarly in case of namespace, scope resolution operator is used to access the namespace variable names. Did you all get it? I'll explain with the help of program now. Have you understood the need of namespace and the scope resolution? All right. Let us quickly declare. First, we need to declare it. How do we declare? We write namespace. Let us say NA. I'm writing integer num1 is equal to 10. Integer num2 is equal to 20. I'm writing one more namespace NB where I have num1 is equal to 30. Means can I say in the same program I have declared one num1, I have declared num1. With this I have a value 10. With this I have a value 30. So if I say cout and if I say NA scope resolution num1. Again, cout, you can use /n. NA, NB, scope resolution, num1. Let us compile and execute. For the first value, it should give me first value as 10, second value as 30 because they have the same data. If you wish to access cout NA scope resolution num2, that is also fine. तो ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है कि हर एक नेम स्पेस में सारे नेम्स सेम होने चाहिए. नेम स्पेस NA में I have num1, नेम स्पेस NB I have num1. When I try to access num1 from NA, I have got the output as 10. When I try to access num2 from NA, I should get output as 20. When I try to access num1 from NB, I should get 30. Right, Rishi? This is called as scope resolution operator. जैसे आप अगर किसी भी ड्राइव से डेटा लेते हो तो आप लिखते कैसे हो? C drive and books. Similarly, यहाँ पे if you wish to access namespace variables, you can go for scope resolution operator. Let us check it. Can you see the output now? Everyone? Yes or no? Good. Now, I'll take little modification into this program. Suppose I'm writing a namespace NA, namespace NB. फिर से मुझे याद आता है at the later stage of my program, मुझे namespace में NA में एक और वेरिएबल num4 जिसकी वैल्यू 40 चाहिए. Means I'm saying I'm redefining a namespace, or I am adding some more variables inside existing namespace. Is it allowed? Yes, it is allowed. Let us try to check. NA num1, NA num2, NA num4. Is it allowed? Yes, it is allowed. So let us compile. अगर मेरे पास दो namespace का नाम same है, it is allowed, provided both the namespaces must have different variable declarations. Did you all get it? दोनों नेम स्पेस का नाम सेम है NA and NA, बट यहाँ पे num1 num2 है. Here I have num4. Variables inside the same definition of namespace must be basically different. If I say integer num1 one more time is equal to 50, let us check. That means पहले मैंने कहा नेम स्पेस एनए में num1 को 10 असाइन करो, एंड बाद में मैंने कहा नेम स्पेस एनए में num1 को 50 असाइन करो. Will it be a confusion for my compiler which namespace to go for? Yes, so this is not allowed. अगर आप किसी भी नेम स्पेस का वेरिएबल नेम स्पेस नेम सेम रखते हो, it is basically provided you must have different variables inside it. Is it okay? Have you understood? Okay. Next, let us say I am writing namespace NA having num1 and num2. Inside this, I have namespace NB having integer num3 is equal to 30. This concept is called as nested namespace. This is a user-defined namespace. If I'm saying I have a namespace within namespace, that is called as nested namespace. Now let us try to compile. If I write cout and अगर मुझे NA का num1 access करना है, what is the syntax that you will type? If I wish to access num1 from NA, what is the syntax that you will write? NA scope resolution num1. Correct. If I wish to access num2 from NA, how do you write? NA scope resolution num2. If I wish to have num3, how do you access? Num3 is within which namespace? NB. But NB is within which space? NA. So first 10, 20, 30. This is called as accessing nested namespace variable. Let me just compile the code and check the output. Can you see the output? We are getting 10, 20, and 30. Have you understood nested namespace? If in NB we add num1, yes. If in NB, if you add num1, that is absolutely allowed. Let us check num1 inside NB. How do you access it? You will write like, मुझे क्या एक्सेस करना है? num1. कहाँ का एक्सेस करना है? NB का. Where NB is defined? Inside NE. Let us compile the code. Can you see I'm getting 40? Hardika, Hardik Yadav, everyone. All right, good. Now, it's very easy, only syntax possible. If it is it possible to add more namespaces? Monali, can you see? मैंने एक ही प्रोग्राम में यहाँ पे 2 namespace डिक्लेयर किए हैं. So you can. All right. Have you understood? Everyone. Yes, it's a user defined. It's not a data type. It's just a user defined. You can say a namespace is user defined only. You cannot type def namespace. It's not a data type. It's a concept to make a segregation in your program. All right. Shall I go little ahead? Okay. Let us say I have integer num is equal to 20. Can you please tell me, is my num is a local variable or the global variable? It's a local variable. Very good. Namespace is a predefined keyword. How do you define namespace? You write namespace name. Okay. If I say I am declaring integer num is equal to 50, can you please tell me, is it a local or global? It's a global. Very good. It's a global variable. Now, suppose I have a namespace NA. Inside it, I have 30 variable. Can you please tell me what is a num? Here num is which variable? It is a namespace variable. It's not global, it's a namespace variable. समझ में आया यहाँ तक? The variable name is same. One is local, another is global, third is namespace. अब मैंने आपको एक पहला यूज बताया स्कोप रिजोल्यूशन का. Scope resolution is used to access namespace variable. Second use of scope resolution is to access global data. That is the second use. Right? We will see one more time or many more times the use of scope resolution. Now, let us say अगर मुझे local variable को access करना है, what I'll write? See out local in double quotes, and what I'll write here? Can I write num? Everyone, are you awake? Right. What value it will display? 20. Absolutely correct. Similarly, if I write here C out, and if I say I wish to access namespace variable, तो आप अब कैसे लिखोगे? How will you write accessing namespace variable? NA scope resolution num. Very good, right? Next, if I say I wish to access global variable, then what you will write? You will only write scope resolution num. समझ में आया? So if you wish to access the local variable, if they have the same name, I'm trying to explain that. You can write num, you can write NA, and you can write this. ठीक है? Let us compile this. Can you see it is accessing local namespace and global variable? All right. Up. I'll go little ahead. The last program, rather, I would say, day1_5.cpp. Now, let us say I have main function and I will have a namespace NA. I'll write integer A is equal to 30. And I say I just wish to print namespace A variable value. So I will definitely go for NA and A. This will say return 0. So here I'll just compile this and check, are we getting, okay, we are in 1_5.cpp, right? And I'll say this 30. सबको ये समझ में आया? Everyone? All right. अब what I want to access this variable, let us say 18:9 तक. So I have to write every time NA scope resolution A. Do you all agree? Everyone? हर टाइम जितनी बार मुझे A वेरिएबल को एक्सेस करना है, I have to write NA scope resolution A. No worry, it will give me answer properly. This is called as accessing namespace variables directly with the help of which operator? Scope resolution operator. Right? But is it feasible every time to write namespace variable name scope resolution, namespace variable scope? It is not feasible, right? So what I'll do, I'll take the same code and instead of writing NA scope resolution A inside the main, I will use one statement which is called as using directive, which is called as using directive. Means I am giving the directions to my compiler कि after this statement use namespace NA, using namespace NA. Let us observe, I'm just writing A now. अब वो मुझे क्या वैल्यू देना चाहिए? It should give me the value as 30. So have I written scope resolution and A? No, I have not written. So it is like if you wish to access a namespace variable, you are having two options. One is use the scope resolution operator and access the element. And second is use the directive. You are giving the direction कि after line number 15, please start using namespace NA. Wherever I will write A, it is going to refer to this variable 30. Have you understood the meaning of namespace NA using का directives? Okay. Now, अथर्व, पहले के केस में मुझे स्कोप रिजोल्यूशन ऑपरेटर लिखना था कंपलसरी, बिकॉज मेरे कंपाइलर को नहीं पता है व्हाट इज ए. I have to explicitly tell to the compiler use the namespace scope resolution in A. But if I do not want to use a scope resolution every time in my program, then I have to go for using keyword namespace and namespace ka naam. What will happen after this? After this, if I'm using any namespace variable, it will automatically fetch, oh, it is from any namespace. It is like that. Is it clear, Atharva? Have you understood? Understood. Good. Now, next. Suppose कितनी बार भी आप पूरे प्रोग्राम में जहां पे भी आप A एक्सेस करोगे उतने बार आपको अभी स्कोप रेजोल्यूशन यूजिंग के साथ नहीं लिखना पड़ेगा. ओके पवन? Have you understood? All right. Now, I'll take this syntax day 1_6.cpp. Okay. And let us say I'm writing namespace NA. I have integer A, which is maybe is equal to 50. And I'm saying main, and I'm saying void, and I'm just writing cout A. Will it try to search A on its own now? Everyone? Will it try to search A on its own? Obviously, no. Let us compile and check. It says NA scope resolution A use karo because this is the error. A was not declared in the scope. All right. Have you understood the type of error? Please focus carefully. Have you understood? It means my program is unable to find this A variable. It's a namespace variable, right? Just write using namespace std. All right. अब I'll remove first. ठीक है. Now, if I write here using namespace NA, will it work for me now? Will it work for me? Yes. Let us check. Is it now giving me the error at cout? Error read karo. Cout was not declared in the scope. मैंने यहाँ पे cout लिखा है, but फिर भी वो मुझे बोल रहा है कि cout was not declared in the scope. Have I included IO stream? Yes. अब please concentrate. If I write std scope resolution cout, let us compile it and check the output. Can you see I'm getting 50? Have you understood what is cout? Cout is a namespace which is defined inside standard namespace std. Cout is a namespace variable which is defined inside the standard namespace. तो हमारे पास नेमस्पेस के वेरिएबल को एक्सेस करने के दो वेज है. पहला वे, use the namespace and scope resolution that variable name. Do you all agree with this? Everyone, that was the first option. तो मेरे प्रोग्राम में सपोज मैं लिखती हूं std cout hello, right? Similarly, again I'm using std cout. I'm writing, let us say, OOPS concepts or OOP concepts, right? Again I'm writing std cout and I'm saying namespace topic. अब क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पे? Every time we have to write std scope resolution cout, std scope resolution cout, std scope resolution. Is it feasible for us to write every time std scope resolution? No, it is not feasible. इसलिए हम लोग क्या करते हैं? We write, I'll keep this reference, I will keep this for your reference. And instead of writing every time scope resolution cout, scope resolution cout, अब मैं इसको यहां से हटा देती हूं. एंड std के अंदर मेरा cout डिक्लेयर किया हुआ है. That's the reason in every C++ program we write using namespace std in the global area. मीन्स जहां पे भी पूरे प्रोग्राम में cout आया, cin आया, वो कहां पे डिक्लेयर किए हुए हैं? std के ऊपर डिक्लेयर किए हुए हैं. Now let us compile the code and check. Are we getting the output as per our requirement? Yes. Have you understood? Did you all get why we are writing this using namespace std now? Because your cin, cout, all these statements or all these variables are predefined inside the standard namespace of C++ called as std. And if I wish to access the namespace variable, I have two options. One is use the scope resolution operator, and second, use the using directive. If I'm not writing using directive, every line pe I have to type, please refer cout from the standard namespace. But if I write only once in the program using namespace std, I will not have to write every time std scope resolution cout. So I hope you all have understood third namespace. यहाँ पे नेम क्या है? नेमस्पेस का अक्षर इट इज NA. तो मेरा C++ का स्टैंडर्ड namespace as where everything with respect to your C++ लेकिन IOStream कहाँ पे define किया हुआ है inside your std only. So you can say std is a whole complete namespace for your C++, Tushar. Okay. So as I said, yes, C in and C out are the objects of IStream and OStream. We will see that tomorrow, Nilesh. But I hope the one which I have told everyone, you will get the meaning of using namespace std. Why do we write at the end of the lecture? And I hope you have got the meaning कि हम ये statement क्यों लिखते हैं. Is it okay? So with this, I will stop the recording for the day, and I hope you have understood the major and minor pillars of OOP and difference between structure and C in structure is C++ and the concept of namespace. Tomorrow, we will start with classes and objects. Thank you very much. All right. Any questions?